Thank you, Mr. Leader, and thank you for bringing this group together. I want to thank my colleagues who served their country not only here but wearing a uniform and taking the same oath many years ago. The Taliban broke the agreement that it made with this country from the very beginning. And clearly this year, at multiple points in the timeline, the Taliban continued to break that agreement. Whether it was the power-sharing agreement overall, by their taking over the country, or the agreement to allow Americans to pass through checkpoints. I cannot tell you how many calls have come to my office, and every member seated at the table today calls to their office of Americans who are saying, I can't get through the checkpoint. The Taliban won't let us through the checkpoint. And yet our president did nothing. The military said when we called them, hey, are you capable of going out there and taking a checkpoint and making sure that Americans can get through? Yes, we have the capability to do that. Has the president authorized you to do that? No. And yet here they are contemplating, recognizing the Taliban as a government, as a state. Let the insanity of that sink in for just a second. You know, I'm reminded, and I don't want to be redundant, my colleagues have done a fantastic job sharing their thoughts, and I agree with everything they've said. I just want to bring us back to the War of 1812. Not very far from here, the British were coming up the Potomac River to burn Washington, D.C. And an American yelled out to the British leader who was, I believe it was an admiral who was bringing the force up the river, and he said, you know, if George Washington were still alive, you wouldn't get this far up the river. The British leader said, if George Washington were still alive, we wouldn't have even tried. Why has the Taliban broken agreement after agreement with this president? Because there's no leadership in Washington, D.C., in the White House right now. There's no leadership in the White House right now. And they're not burning down the White House, but they've certainly burned down the reputation of this great country with their failure to lead. And all of that, 100%, is on Joe Biden.